2 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. UK, roughly. Actually, no, we're a few minutes early. Sorry. We're live, though. We have a very special guest. We haven't done a special guest in quite a while, and I'm very, very, very grateful and thankful to have Liam, a.k.a. FaTaL LG. You'll recognize him from his match day vlogs, which we love so much. And you got two people on here interviewing him today who literally, we watch them all and we love them. So it's really quite the privilege to have you on, my man. I really appreciate you taking the time with us.
No, I really appreciate the compliments. Thank you. God, I didn't enjoy editing last night's one. That was absolute. I'll tell you what, any other side probably wouldn't mind, but with Crystal Palace, it hurt a little bit, I think, and quite frustrating as well. But I think they deserved it as well. But yeah,
it's funny because we do a rapid fire usually at the end of every episode, and I'd say we ask everybody, what team do you love to beat? That's one of the questions. So giving it away a little bit, but everybody says Spurs, obviously. But there is also a deep hatred for Palace.
See, I'm a little bit different, right? Because for me, I don't like Spurs as it is, and I do have a little pop here and there. And I think with Palace, the only reason I feel like for me there's a hatred is because of the beef I've kind of got on Twitter with them. I've had, whereas they seem slightly more. But for me, if I had to pick a side I don't like the most, it'd probably be Manchester United, just because I don't like, for me, their fan base. I feel. For me, it's the place where you go. It's one of my favourite stadiums for how it looks, but I feel like it's one of the worst atmospheres in terms of they just don't. I feel like they don't have as much respect for other fans as they should. Whereas with Spurs, you're still going to get a good atmosphere. I don't know if I've ever been to a Spurs West Ham game where the atmosphere's been dull. Every time we go, I mean, I that's what I'm saying. I don't mind most football clubs really. I haven't really got it, but I feel like Man United's probably the thing I don't like about football, and that's probably why I've got my little bit of hatred towards them.
Yeah.
Hey, Matthew Howard.
So let's start this back up here. So how did you get into West Ham? What's your story?
So basically, from the first, I'll tell you what, ironically enough, the first shirt I ever wore when I was born was a West Ham shirt. My mum and dad brought me into it. I'll have to see if I find it one day. I'll post it on one of my vlogs, but there's a little photo of me. And the first thing I'm wearing is a Doc Martens West Ham shirt with Di Canio on the back of it. And I was born in Newham General Hospital, and it was my local side. I went to a school that was literally, as you looked out the window, you could see the stadium. And ironically enough, I used to play football for that school. And I was the only West Ham fan there. All of them supported Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham. I was the only one there out of them all supported West Ham. And just from that, I just sort of built up from then. I got my first season ticket when I was 6 years old, I think. And I haven't been to every home game, but I haven't missed a West Ham game since the season we got relegated. So I've gone home and away since. That was including missing quite a bit of school as well. But I nearly missed my English GCSE exam because we had to go Man City on the League Cup when we lost 6-0. So a little bit mad West Ham, but can't beat it though.
Yeah. Well, Wally and I, we're probably two of the newer, West Ham supporters, I guess, of our group even. I mean, we have a lot of Americans here and also some expats here that are in our group that, they've been supporting a long time. See, I started supporting the group West Ham halfway through that relegated season. That's my story. And I think, Wally, when did you start following West Ham?
Well, I first knew about them when I lived in London in 1970. And that's when I started saying I liked West Ham. Not that I went to a game or anything as an American kid going to school there. But then I moved north to Coventry for 6 years in a British school, and I got a lot of stick for saying West Ham. So that was anyway. So I know what you're going through as a lone West Ham supporter. But then it's only been lately that I start, when they show the games here on NBC, SN, we can see all the games. So that's more when I'm following them closely. But
I think as well, that's kind of the special thing about West Ham, because let's be honest, you don't choose to support West Ham for glory. You could go support Chelsea, Spurs, anything like that for glory. But if you support West Ham, it's and this isn't just West Ham as well. You support side like West Ham, Everton, Bournemouth, Wolves even. You don't go out your way to support these clubs for glory. You support them because they're your local side, or they're your side that you love, or you're brought into it. I feel like there's a lot of fans, and fair play to you both, because obviously you're just saying that you're recently into it. It's so easy for fans who aren't into football necessarily to go, right, well, I'm going to go support Chelsea, I'm going to go support Manchester United. Like, I remember, ironically enough, I shouldn't say this, I know she'll kill me if she watches this, but my mum, before she met my dad, she was an Arsenal season ticket holder, you see, and she didn't miss a game at all when they obviously went on to that, when they didn't lose a game in the league. And my mum actually went to being a West Ham fan when she met my dad. And so it could have been out of either Arsenal or West Ham for me. But I was just brought into being West Ham, and I haven't really looked back since, kind of thing. But yeah, no, that's why I like West Ham, though, because you've got a massive fan base with real fans who choose to support that club. They don't
all over the world. Yeah, and we've met some people, obviously, from South Australia. We got a guy that's in our chat room all the time. He watches your videos as well. His name is Neil. Yeah, Neil from Down Under. That's his little name there on YouTube. But yeah, we've talked with people from. We've had Hammers Brazil. Actually, Hammers Brazil is going to be working with us going forward, and they're going to be doing videos on our channel in Portuguese for Brazilian West Ham fans. Yeah, I mean it's global. It really is. And although I've only been supporting Die Hard since 2011, it feels like an eternity. Obviously, you know as well as I do. It feels like a lot longer than that. I feel like I'm a lifer. I feel like I was born into it. A lot of ups and downs and just ridiculous stuff. We've gone through a lot of ridiculous issues with the ridiculous players. You know, all these different sagas with Arnautovic and Payet and you know before that. But I wouldn't want it any other way. I love everything about the club. I really do. So that's it. So.
Sorry,
what made you decide to start doing the vlogs or the videos? I mean, even before the vlogs, you did some, you were doing just some videos, right?
So it's such a weird story. So back in 15, 16, we went to Leicester away and we got that 2-2 draw. And what I kind of did, like, I used to, just on my normal Snapchat, I used to just film myself going around and just making a little vlog for myself kind of thing. And then I put it, just as a laugh, I put it on the public Snapchat story. And every single one of them, about 4 or 5 of them, made it on that story. And I got about, I think at the point it was 3.3 million views. And like, obviously, like, it was only a little small segment of me going on there. But I remember going, because I was still in sixth form at this point, and I went in and my mates were like, "You've been on the public Snapchat." I didn't even realise I was. A lot of them screenshotted it and sent it to me. And it was amazing. Then the new season came about when we were moving to London Stadium, and I have to be honest, like, a big influence for me was Spencer FC, and I watched his video, and I wanted to do what he did. Like, I love the fact that he went to every game, and I mean, I really admired what he did, and I just I want to do that. And then I did I think my first game for West Ham. I can't remember. I think it was that. Honestly, my brain's gone, but we beat that side 3-0, the first side that we ever played in that Europa League. I uploaded that, and I think that got like 1,000 views for the first video as well. I couldn't, I thought that was amazing. And then I think it was coming up to the next video, and I had uploaded a little bit late, and then I had a few people messaging me like, "Oh, come in, like, where's your next video? Where's your next video?" Just from there, and then I really got into it, and then just from there, it's never stopped since.
Yeah, they're
remember your first videos.
Yeah, they give us.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they give us a sense of what it's like to be in the, watching the match and hearing the chanting and
that's like
action.
Do you know what? And that's kind of like the amount of people, like, and the amount of people that have messaged me and got in touch with me over social media, like Instagram and stuff, just saying to me like, "Thank you so much, because without you, I wouldn't know what it's like. Like, I can't make every game, and when I can't, the first thing I do is wait on your channel until it comes out," kind of thing. And it's really complimentary knowing that, like, loads of people kind of care about. Considering I'm really not a big YouTuber. I'm really, like, I do all right with the views and everything, but like, I really appreciate that people are kind enough to kind of say like, "Look, what you're doing is really good. Like, keep this going."
Yeah, well, you put a lot of work into it. You can tell. I mean, because you do quite a bit of editing, which we don't. We do most of our videos live because it's easy. You know what I mean? Yeah. We do a lot of videos though, and it's very exhausting. But at the same time,
you guys are good though. Like, you're trying to get loads of fans from all over the world to come together and speak. I wouldn't say that's not a lot. I think that's an amazing idea, and like, you're doing this something really good, especially for people all over the world and can't get their opinions voiced. It's such a good way to.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because that is our mission. It was to try. Well, initially it was to unite all the American West Ham supporters, and then we started having guests like yourself, other YouTubers from, that are West Ham related from around the world, on the show, and then we realized, hey, you know what? There's something there, and we wanted to kind of advertise you guys to the West Ham fans here in America that didn't necessarily know you existed yet. That was the original plan, but then it just grew, and we just said, you know what? Let's try to find people in Indonesia. Let's try to find people in Thailand. Let's try to find, because there's a lot of West Ham fans there. There's a lot of supporters groups there, like a lot. You wouldn't believe, man. If you look on Instagram, I'm telling you, there's so many supporters groups, and those people, they wake up at all out. You know, I can't imagine the time difference for them as well. You know, in Thailand or Indonesia.
The amount of people in my comment section that are just like, oh, from Colombia, I'm loving this. So like, thank you for uploading. I've been waiting all night, and I'm just like, Jesus, like you're on the other side of the world watching West Ham get thumped probably like someone, but yeah.
Kind of like what you do. What we love about what you do is like you said, it's the point of view, feeling of, you know, the match day experience, which is awesome. We actually asked one of our former what do you call it, contributors, Scott Davis. We said, you know what, can you do, because he goes back and forth a lot from here to there, and we said, can you do a sort of vlog that kind of, you know, shows the Americans, like what is it like for an American to go over there? Because for us to get tickets, a lot different than you, or a lot, you know, unless we do get our hands on a season ticket or something like that. But what's the experience like for someone who's never been, you know, American, who's never been over there before and wants to go to a match? You know, and he did a cool little travel log for us, which was neat. So if anybody's watching this and you're interested in that, just take a look back in our videos, or just search American Hammers TV travelogue, and it was well done. So I appreciate that, Scott. Thank you. But yeah, I know what you do. It's really cool, man. So I was literally watching back to your oldest videos today, just to get a perspective to see, you know, how far you've come along. And the first one was like, it was a match, not a match, I'm sorry, it was a season prediction, right? I think it was for the 1670. And then one of the other ones, I was laughing out loud because it was when Big Sam was announced England manager. Remember that video?
Oh God, yeah, no, I do.
And you know, yeah. You got your girlfriend involved. You knock on the door and spit your drink out. That was the best, man. I love stuff like that. But do you ever go back and watch your old videos?
To be honest, my girlfriend pointed one out the other day because oh man, so I took her to a West Ham game, and I didn't. When I've been with her for a year now, and I never told her. She knew I went West Ham games, but I never really told her straight away that I was a West Ham fan. And she came along. She's like, "Why are you talking to your phone?" And I'm just like, "Oh well, funny that." But I uploaded, and she saw it, and then she stalked my channel a little bit, just went through it, and went back to some of the old ones, and just went, "Oh yeah, I think puberty might have saved your life a little bit." I was like, "I don't even like. What? Don't think I look much different, like." But no, and I one I recently watched, ironically, was that one you were saying, the predictions one. I looked at how many I got right, and I don't think I got a single one right. So I kind of went more with my heart for that one than did anything else. So, you know, like it's.
That's why I stopped doing match predictions. Really, I mean, I stopped doing that because everyone that I did, it was the opposite. So for a while, I was predicting us to lose because every time I did, we were win, and I didn't feel comfortable doing that.
More often, then?
I know, but I gave up on that because I just hate saying it out loud because then people look at me like, I don't know, oh, you're predicting the lose.
I always get told that. Oh, you're too negative.
Yeah, I'm not really like that. But so have you ever, I mean, I've actually seen you on the fan cams as well a couple times, right? You've been on there a couple times with the West Ham Fan TV boys.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So ironically enough, they're blessed. There's some of the nicest guys, the same as Hammers Chat as well. I've got loads of respect to them, Dom, all of them. Ironically enough, I was really, really shy when I first met them because I knew who they were previously to the last season at Upton Park. And when I started uploading, I think we were at Everton away. And I think it was Everton away. And I saw them there. And I think it was Ryan Archer, and bless him, he was just like, oh, I love what your videos you do. And I thought, this guy, someone who I really look up to him, like, in terms of like how far he goes to West Ham, and like, because I know it's hard to have him to go to every game, and especially after the rough start we had in 16-17, how much stick they were getting. I just thought I admire it as well, how they don't sort of take it any abuse, they just keep going. And I thought I really admire that. Whereas like I was a little bit more susceptible to taking criticism quite badly back then. And I just thought when he come out, especially him coming out saying, I really like what you do, you should keep it up. Like, it's a really good idea for West Ham fans who can't make games, because they used to vlog the games and they stopped, and they were just like, it's so nice to see what you always do.
Yeah. We've had them on the show too. pretty much every one of them. Same thing with Hammers Chat. We've had every one of them on as guests as well.
Yeah, so that's how I saw for Hammers Chat when you did, yeah.
Yeah, lovely guys, all of them, and it's just nice to see that, and they get along as well. There's not really. I mean, everybody does something different. I mean, we all do some similar things, but it's just nice to see the family environment. Like we're all buddies. You know what I mean? We're all good friends, and just trying to spread
exactly. And again, that's another thing good with West Ham. It's not just a club; it's like a family, isn't it? We go through the good times, the bad times together. We have a good bit of banter, and then we have a good rant as well at the same time. And that's why I always go home and away as well. So I was going to mention, every home and away game I go with a bunch of friends that I've been going with for about 3 or 4 years now, and we all travel together home and away. Like it's a good sort of, like, I think 5, 6 of us that always go home and away, and we just stick together as a group and everything. And like I remember coming out some games being thumped, but it's like got my mates afterwards, have a good laugh, we'd have a few drinks as well. Like, but that's kind of what West Ham's about for me.
How do you usually travel? Is it by bus or train or?
So yeah, so for Bournemouth away was the one-off really, because we actually went to a hotel for that one. We crashed in one of them just for them, because we had all the time we've been going Bournemouth. We'd only ever been in the Premier League, because when we were in the Championship, they weren't, but they're in League One at the point. And every year we've gone Bournemouth, we've always got the coach, but never really got to go and head and have a look at Bournemouth. Because we always get to the game, and straight when you go on the West Ham coach, you have to get straight to the coach after the game. They really advise you to, which is fair enough. You've got to get us back. And they usually give us a police cordon as well to follow, so we get past traffic. And where Bournemouth is, it's in the town, but it's just a little bit out of it. So we want to kind of explore the whole weekend. But most weekends itself, we usually go through coach travel, unless it's a London derby and we just get the tube.
So West Ham runs coaches. Is that how it works?
Yes. So if every away game, if it's far up north, or it's I think the shortest distance they do is Watford. Every single away game, if it's not a London derby, is covered by a coach ticket. So you have, every time you get an away ticket, they give you the availability to go and buy a coach ticket as well. And we always do, because obviously our mates go as well, and we just like to travel with them.
We have a couple of chat room questions for you, actually, both from Matt Howard. Here's the first one. It says, Liam, what's the best game you ever remember seeing?
Do you know what? There's two. There's the final game at Upton Park, and then there's the playoff final. But I think the final game at Upton Park would just be it, just purely because of how much that meant. It wasn't just about being Man United. It was that's our last game. That's my childhood. That is just like sums up everything perfect. But then beating Spurs away last season at a new stadium, that's up there as well.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's great.
The playoff, but what do you remember about the playoff final? What was the atmosphere like?
Do you know what it was? I just remember, and I'll admit this as well. It was the first. I was 14 years old. It was the first time I ever got drunk. Like there was genuinely, well, I'm telling you, like they genuinely, these guys behind the bar, I think they knew, but I believe they were West Ham fans as well, and they were just getting pints galore. Like it was, I was absolutely based off getting back home, throwing up, but happy throwing up. But it was amazing. And then I remember we were wearing flags throughout all Liverpool from the whole way back. My mum and my dad and me, we all had 3 flags. We just walked straight through out of Wembley, back home, wearing our flags non-stop. It was our day. Like going through other like football territories, we just didn't care. It was our day. And I think it was a very special one as well.
That I'll never forget that. That was oh boy, I was fighting with pop-ups through some dodgy feed from Afghanistan. I think it could have been, I don't even know, but I kept having to click those things away, man. I'll never forget that. But I did get to watch the majority of the match, and that ending, man, I'm telling you, that was nothing like it. And just to see the atmosphere and to see on TV, everybody's so elated and just so excited and so happy. I've never seen it, West Ham supporters that happy before. They obviously weren't that happy when we were leaving the Berlin.
Yeah. I think the only thing that frustrated me about that Wembley game was we sold out. So when you go to the play final, Wembley's about 90,000. They usually give 45,000 to both sides, which is fair enough. It's a playoff final. You need to have a leaving allocation. I had personal West Ham friends at that point who could not get a ticket at all. They were struggling galore. And Blackpool still hadn't sold out their end. They had 10, which is understandable. I get that, because they're only a small club. I understand completely. But I just wish Wembley had been like, right, West Ham can have a few more. because I do know about 3 people that couldn't get a ticket, and they actually ended up sitting in the Blackpool end. How bad it was. And I think one of them got kicked out, actually. They celebrated when FaTaL scored. So, but, that's the only little criticism I had about that. But honestly, it was something special as well. And FaTaL got that goal as well, because I was in the upper tier as well. So I was on the second bit. So it was pretty good.
We have another question. Go ahead.
Is that the first time you've been to Wembley, or you've been there before for other events?
For West Ham, no. As a matter of fact, that was my first time. I hadn't been before at all. I think it was a good way to go as well. But we've been obviously since with Spurs when they were there in their cup. We haven't actually lost the new Wembley since it's been the new Wembley. So hopefully we can keep that record going. But yeah.
There's another question from Matt, basically asking, oh boy, where is it right here? Who's the best player that you've seen playing? So I guess who's the best player you've ever seen?
What, for West Ham or the opposition?
I'm assuming so. Matt, you can clarify if you want, buddy, but I'm assuming West Ham.
For West Ham, I'm gonna have to say it.
You can say it. You can say it. Go ahead. I know you're gonna say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, like Dimitri Payet is probably the best West Ham player I think I've seen, along with Carlos. Because my first proper season, I didn't miss a home game, was Carlos Tevez's. But Payet for me, I think, because I was a lot older and I took more knowledge of football. I don't think I'll ever forget when Payet nutmegged Aguero and flicked it over De Bruyne's head and kept going as if it was nothing. And I've never seen any side make Man City look like they were just basic, if that makes sense. And for me, and that's why for me, especially that free kick, that is the best goal I think I ever saw, was when Payet scored that free kick at Man United. I was actually caught on the TV celebrating on that as well, which was massive as well. So, but for me, yeah, he's the best West Ham player I think I've personally ever seen in real life. And I do hope that we do see other players who are at that caliber.
Yeah.
I really believe it's like once in a lifetime kind of thing, I feel like, especially as a West Ham fan.
So who's the worst? Who's the worst player you've seen?
Yeah, good question. Good question.
Oh, really?
He was one of those players. I don't even think he was that bad. I just feel like he was a little bit lazy when we first came, because he got the first assist at the London Stadium, and then after that, he never ran for the ball at all, and so you can't afford to do that in the Premier League. And I think that was the only thing that kind of frustrated me a little bit. But for me, I think it's going to definitely have to be him.
I can't argue with that. All right, so we're almost getting there. I just want to say thank you to a few of the people in the chat room so far. We've got Gabe, we got Matt Howard, who we've obviously asked a few of his questions already, and I did see Mark Noon in there, and Wally, you're double teaming it, man. You're double dipping, man. You're in there too.
Good co-host.
Wally, I appreciate that. I do. Thank you. And Perez, is that Perez Taylor? I don't really know how to pronounce that, but it's like pears. But thank you for tuning in. And Ray Borum, there we go. One of our former guests from the UK, just a awesome dude and awesome West Ham supporter. He actually lives in Liverpool, and he runs a Coyote Ugly bar up there, and he's like one of the only West Ham supporters in Liverpool. It's God bless him, man. And then there's somebody else who I can't read that, but thank you. Oh, from Thailand. Yeah, see, I told you there's supporters in Thailand.
They're everywhere.
There you go. Got to get you on the show sometime. Interview some Thai people. That'd be awesome. So, again, that just goes to prove, the globality of this. I love it. I don't know if that's a word, but so let's see. I don't know. I guess we'll get into some hammer polls. Let's get cracking on that. That should be some fun here. I just got to pull it up real quick.
I was just curious. I had a question. What is your favorite away game or away day?
Perfect question.
For me, my perfect away day is got to be Chelsea away. We don't do well there, but it is my favorite. Just in terms of the atmosphere, Chelsea give us so much stick when we're there. But for me, it's definitely got to be Chelsea.
Interesting.
I think you're the first person who's ever said that. That's all. I mean, but we've had on. That's awesome. I love hearing a different pick. That's cool. But Chelsea, huh? That's
yeah. So like when we go there, for me, I don't think in all the time I've gone there, I think that's the only stadium that I've never seen West Ham win at. I think I've been everywhere. I've gone to Man City, I've gone to Liverpool. I've seen us all win games there, but I've never seen us go to Stamford Bridge and get 3 points or win in the cup even. I've always seen us struggle, and I think it's just, and the only thing, I think the best results I've ever seen is a 0-0 and a 1-1, and that was when we were in a relegation battle and we're defending for our lives.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, well, let's get into these Hammers polls real quick. The first one is, was Pellegrini right to bring back Lanzini into the team against Palace? I'm assuming, well, he was in the team the week before, too. He came off the bench against Bournemouth. But anyway, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Lanzini?
Who wants to go first?
Liam. We'll do Liam and then Wally.
I feel like when it comes to Lanzini, like the problem with him is he's got that injury in his knee and he's had that for a long while now. And like, I feel like Fornals has been seeing such a good run of form. I would have started with Fornals, and then if the game started to go a little bit haywire, which it did, I would have then brought on Lanzini as like another player. Like obviously Lanzini's got his really good record against Palace in the past when he scored past them, but I feel like with how delicate Lanzini can be on the pitch, I think it would have been more appropriate to bring him on in the second half, perhaps rather than starting him.
Yeah.
What do you think, Wally?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I had just assumed that Lanzini was going to start because he played a good portion of the Bournemouth game. But and he came on and made an impact in the Bournemouth game. But you're right, in this yesterday's match, he was kind of missing and really didn't see him much.
Yeah.
So
I thought as well that there was probably two separate occasions I watched him give the ball away as well, like cheaply as well, like not just like mistakenly, but just kind of just a mispass. And I think that's more to do with confidence as well.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing with last season. I thought maybe he was slightly rushed. He did have one good game when he first came back. I believe it was against Fulham. But I think we rushed him. I think that just because it's Lanzini, I think you're right. I think he's better suited until he's 100%. Just bring him off the bench until he's like really ready. You're right. He always has. He's got that injury in his knee, but at the same time, he's one, I don't know, sharp turn away from hurting himself again. Putting his foot the wrong way or getting someone going in rough on him, and then losing him again for another couple months. Why would we risk that? You know what I mean? I mean, was Palace that threatening,
I agree,
going into that, or even Bournemouth? I mean, we should be playing better against a team like Bournemouth. We should be playing it better against as a team. Anyway, without Lanzini, that's just one player. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. But.
No, I completely agree with you there, mate. And it's so frustrating for me because I feel like if he had never taken an injury, I feel like for me personally, I feel like he would have gone further on than just West Ham. For me, for technical ability, he's my favourite West Ham player in terms of how he plays. But it just is so frustrating because I feel like sometimes because of his injury, I think psychologically he doesn't get involved as much as he should.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. He was linked to Liverpool a couple of years ago, and then the injury just killed all that. So
and we just gave him a new deal, didn't we?
Yes, I think so.
Did we give him that new deal?
Yeah.
So,
I believe so.
I wouldn't want to risk that money, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, seriously. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. We'll just say anything here. We'll just say no, just for shits and giggles. And wow, So was Pellegrini right to bring Lanzini back into the first team against Palace? And 72% says yes. That's out of 202 votes. So this is a fresh poll. It's only been up for 6 hours. All right, that's not even a poll there. All right, so. Does West Ham need to strengthen in January? And if so, what positions? So yes or no, do they need to strengthen in January? And if so, what positions there? Let's go back with Liam and go in a circle again.
I'm going to say, we do. In terms of if Sebastian Haller was to take an injury, who else do we put up top? Like realistically speaking, like the thing with Haller, like the best thing with him is he can hold the play up when the game's going on, but I feel like if Haller's gone, we don't really have anyone else who can kind of off the play in that position and that was the only thing I liked about having Chicharito. because he kind of, even though he wasn't the best player for us, he was still someone there to play. Like, we could still put him in to try and do a job, and he could score a goal here and there. But I mean, maybe perhaps you could put Antonio up top, but Antonio's injured currently, and I really do miss Antonio, because I believe yesterday would have been his game to turn it round if he'd been subbed on. But yeah, I'd say yes in terms of just another striker. I would have said right back not long ago, but I'm really happy with Fredericks, how he's been. Maybe not too much yesterday, but I thought overall he's not been too bad. But that's just me. I think he's kind of building into it. And I'll be patient with him.
Well, you and Wally, I think, agree to that a lot.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I think Fredericks actually had a good game yesterday. I missed the match live, so I was watching it on replay, and I already knew the score, so I wasn't feeling like a passionate watching. So I felt like I could watch it from a technical standpoint. And Fredericks, I think, had a really good game. He only made one mistake. That was on Zaha. I mean, the second goal kind of eventually came out of that. But he was crossing. He was speeding up the line. He was getting back on defense. I thought he had a good game. So.
Okay, good. Well,
Tim's not a big fan of Fredericks, but
I'm not. I'm not. No, not at all. But yeah, I'm gonna just tone down. Nice try, Gabe, in the chat room. I know you're trying to get Wally to poke me there and get me into a rant, but I'm not going to do it. Not for him today. He's not worth it.
Actually, I think
not one bit. I know. No.
I think what we need.
I'm not.
Oh, I think what we need. I think what we need in January is something in central midfield, because we bring on Sanchez to sub off Noble, and that's just, if that's all we've got as a backup. I mean, that's scary. That's scary.
But we have some guys in the academy.
Yeah. I know we're not a fan of Arnautovic, but I think the only thing that annoys me, and even though when Arnautovic didn't start playing towards the end of last season, even when we were behind in the game, we could bring on the thing for me is we don't necessarily need the best player, but we just need someone who can be brought on in case of an emergency. And that's what, so as I say about Arnautovic, last season towards the end, he wasn't playing as much, but we'd still sub him on, and he would change the game. Against Southampton, even though we did smash him, we brought him on and he scored a goal for us still. And I feel like when you can get a player who can come on and influence the game in a big way, that's the type of player we need to go for. But the only thing is, when you have such a good player, they don't really want to sit on the bench. They want to be playing every week, which is understandable.
Yeah, that's true. I think that we need to strengthen, obviously. I don't think we need to go crazy, because the January window always sucks. There's not usually much going around. But listen, if we're going to do something, let's just do it and get something that we need, instead of just talking about it. We were talking about Joshua King last January, the guy that, always scores against us. And that didn't last, I mean, that would have been someone who, listen, I'll take anybody who ever scores against us every single time he plays against us, because that just means, hey, they're not going to score against us anymore, right? That takes that out of the equation. No, not everybody. No, just, man, just him. But anyway, I'd sign James Tompkins back. All right, everybody, drink in chat room, drink.
He was on the bench yesterday and didn't get in the game.
He was. I'm telling you, because he's pissed and he wants to come home. All right? He wants to come home. He doesn't want to play for Roy.
I still don't to this day. I don't get why we let him. We got really good money for him, but I don't understand why we let a player who was regularly getting it to go to Crystal Palace, and that's the same thing as well. I'm quite gutted that we let Kouyaté go away as well.
That's true. Yeah, it's because the reason why we let Tompkins go was because he wanted to be the number one guy. He wanted to be the number one center back, which in hindsight, if you look at how many games he actually played and how many games he was healthy for, I mean, yeah, it would have been a smarter move over Reed, but we didn't know that Reed was going to get hurt, that bad. And Bilic's number one was Reed, number two was Ogbonna. And Ogbonna had one good season, one solid 100% good season. That was the last year of the bowling. And he's had, glimpses of superstardom, and then a bunch more games where he was like, what the fuck is Ogbonna doing type of matches. So anyway, he wasn't guaranteed the time, and Bilic said, you know what, let's get him out of here, and puts another notch on his belt of the reasons why Tim hates him so much. So I don't like Bilic at all. Anyway, So yeah, we need to strengthen. I think. Well, what do we do about goalkeeper? I mean, we definitely need to do something, right? Roberto didn't look that
Hopefully he'll be
great
back by then. Yeah.
I mean, well, that's just that. Sorry, we need that. We also need a center back, right? I mean, do we need a center back? I mean, because Balbuena apparently isn't favored at all by Pellegrini anymore, so he's out of that. And Ogbonna is really not doing so hot. So what are we going to do about that? Diop is 50-50, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say in terms of like for me, like I really rate Diop. I think my only little concern is who's next to in terms of like I don't know how you guys react to this, but for me, like I always feel like Ogbonna can be a bit 50-50, a bit hit and miss at times. And I like for me personally, I like the partnership of Balbuena and Diop. But I know obviously Balbuena isn't favoured, but I thought the best defence we've had. Now, don't get me wrong, Balbuena can have games where he's given the ball away, like against Watford last year at home. That for me, that was his fault. We lost that. But I think every centre half's going to have a mistake. But I felt the best partnership you get is with them two. Balbuena's been playing like quite decent if you take out yesterday's game. But I feel like we do. I think the best partnership we have at centre back is with Diop and Balbuena.
Yeah, 100%. I agree as well. And but you're right. You're both right about we need another a backup for Rice. We definitely do. But that's tough in January. You know, find someone who will come in as a backup, really, or who is actually good enough for backup. How can we know who? Well, I mean, pretty much anybody's better than Sanchez. But we've got academy players that are doing very well, and that are doing well in the under-21s, and why not give them a call up and a shot?
I'll tell you what, a player that I always like, and he's on my Twitter, Dan Kemp. He's the only problem is I think he's a little bit lightweight, but he's for me because luckily for me a few years back, me and my dad we got to go with the West Ham players to Bratislava and train with them, so we won this competition just by a complete fluke, and we got pulled out of it. And we got to fly abroad to West Ham for free, and everything they paid for our flights. So we could go over, and we actually got to go to the training session itself. And then we got to actually have a look at how it works, and we got to watch the under-23s and some of the talent there. And luckily for me, it's my little one claim to fame. I actually got to train with them. I actually got to kick a ball with them and join in one of their sessions. And I got completely humiliated. I got nutmegged about 5 separate occasions. But it was it was a ton of fun, and I just feel like there's so much kind of competition, and I know there's a lot of West Ham fans because West Ham fans don't see it. And that's the only thing I'm quite gutted about because this is before the 17-18 season. The only thing I'm gutted about is I actually filmed a vlog for it, watching the West Ham players train. They were totally good with me filming it, and then my footage was corrupt. I was absolutely devastated. That is such a good opportunity just to show West Ham fans what goes on behind the scenes in the youth. And Terry Wesley, bless him, a really nice bloke as well. I think he follows my dad on Twitter now as well. They chit chat here and there, and it's always quite nice as well. And like saying that Dean Garner apparently is loving it at West Brom as well. There's a bit of worry that he doesn't really want to leave because of how well he's doing, which I can totally understand. But there's nothing in his contract that says he can stay. Fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, there's also Anthony Scully. There's Nathan Holland. I mean, there's a lot of guys, Connor Coventry, that are doing very well, for the under-23s. And I'd like to see any of them get a chance, really. It's just it doesn't see, with all this development and this restructuring of the youth, their youth program per se. It's so weird that they're strengthening it. They're strengthening it, but they're not pulling anybody from it. Pellegrini just doesn't pull anybody from it. I mean, he gave Nathan Holland a little bit of time, not even a full match, man. He was the best player on the pitch against Oxford, and he only played 57 minutes. I mean, that made no sense.
Yeah, that was the most humiliating night I think we've had this season. Like that was beyond disgraceful, and that was the only bit of highlight I think we could have taken from that game because I think Nathan Holland, I thought he was a little bit bullied off the ball, but he was the only one kind of creating chances and going forward and getting aggressive. It was like, where's the rest of the side? The thing is about that night, we put out a side that is good, that should be good enough realistically to beat a side like, no disrespect to Oxford, but like all these Premier League are won.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, there's no reason why. On paper, no, we should have beat them, period. I mean, they're not even a good League One side. You know what I mean? Like, they're not even a good one. And there's quite a few of those teams over there. So anyway, let's get into the next poll. Actually, let's go back here and figure out what they said. So do we need to strengthen? Yeah, sure. 85% say yes out of 447 votes. with just 2 hours left in the poll. What do you say, Wally?
I was going to say, was Wimbledon more humiliating than Oxford, or which was worse?
What? Sorry.
Which was more humiliating, Wimbledon or Oxford?
Oh, I'm going to have to say, I think Wimbledon, just to the fact of we'd already done it once, and then I think we were a little bit overconfident walking into the next one again. And then I think what's more gutting was the fact that they had Millwall in the next round, and we had their fans giving us stick. Oh, this is how you beat Wimbledon. You should watch us. And it was just like, oh,
yeah.
But
I
think
at the same time, I think that our team was better. The team that we put out this year was better, and when we really should have. There's no way we should have lost that bad. But again, we just got to stop slagging off Tottenham the day, day or two before we take on a shitty team. We slagged them off for their defeat against, was it Brighton? And then we ended up.
We can see 10 goals in the last 2 games.
All right, so this is from 22 hours ago. Was Pellegrini right with his substitutions, bar the one forced to change? Yes or no? We'll go with Liam.
I think, ironically enough, before the substitutions were made, Ajeti was getting ready to come on. In my vlog, I actually filmed Ajeti getting ready to come on, but he was never brought on. He was told originally, because I sit right next to him, I think he was told he was going to come on. And then and I think he was fuming afterwards because he couldn't. He's so keen to start. You can see it in him. He's like a little kid there, like, I want to come on, I want to play.
Yeah.
And I just feel sorry for him. But yeah, I think he was forced to. Just because of the fact I think it just wasn't going for West Ham on the night. Like the amount of opportunities we had that were just going haywire. I think Pellegrini was kind of forced to in a way because it's one of those things like trial and error. If it's not going to work over and over again, you just got to try and change the game up a little bit. And I think that's what he did. I think he had no choice, so it didn't come to backlash him saying, "Why didn't you make any substitutions?" Because when we did bring on the players, I found it really like my mum saying to me, "Who would you take off?" And I thought, I don't know really because everyone's playing on it, we just can't score. And I would say bring on another striker, but we haven't got one. But yeah, I think he was. To answer that, I'd say I think he was forced to, just for himself, really. But yeah.
Wally, you think he was right with the substitutions, or barring?
Well, I think that's a good point about if he had brought Ajeti in, that might have really switched things up because a lot of times. Like Anderson was finding space on the side, and when he crossed in, there wasn't, it wasn't near Allaire, and so if there had been a second striker around, maybe they would have, profited from that. Obviously, he had to sub for Cresswell. I mean, that was forced. I thought Fornells looked good when he came on, so. I
thought Zabaleta did too, though. I really do.
Yeah, Zabaleta did fine. I think, yeah. So let's. Was he right? I say no on this one, to be honest.
Okay.
What do you think?
Was he right with the substitutions? Me personally, I think the one forced change was the right one.
Well, yeah. But that's not. Yeah.
Well, I know. So I say no.
Right, I was gonna say I think he was right. I just wish Ajeti would get a go because I think just give him a bit of time and he'll adapt. But he's just so young though. Like he's only 21, I think, something like that.
Well, out of 187 votes, they 69% said no.
Mm-hmm.
No, he wasn't right with the substitutions. But 31% did say yes, and 188 votes. I mean, that's they've had a lot more response. I guess there was a lot of people looking at this saying, I don't want to get involved with picking. Because with 1 hour left, there's only 188 votes. That's weird.
I bet if we had won the game and a couple of those chances had gone in, then it would have been yes.
Most of them would be saying yeah.
Before we get into the next one, then let's start with Liam on this one as well. What do you think about the decisions, the VAR decisions from the match?
Okay, so basically, for me, right, I feel like I know what happened last night was dreadful, and I know at Bournemouth as well how annoying VAR can be, but I'm all for it still. However, I think VAR highlights the rules that are just stupid in football. I mean, it's Felipe Anderson's knee that kept the player on side for them to score, like his knee. And a human error, you would never have seen that. And I think that I think they should, because there's loads of fans saying they complain about the fact that VAR's ruining the game, and like with England versus Netherlands in the semi-final in the summer, they're saying, oh, VAR's ruining the game, Lingard should have scored. Well, VAR, like if you think about it, the VAR's never got it wrong in terms of like saying, oh yeah, he was offside. Like Anderson's knee last time, they weren't wrong at all in what they were saying. And but they should then change the rules, saying, well, maybe you should be a yard off for them to then say it was offside, rather than saying you're an inch offside like a toenail you are. Because that I think the only good thing about this is it highlights everything that's kind of wrong with the rule system in football, and then maybe they should change it.
What do you think, Wally?
Yeah, I think like last year on the offside decisions, we would have gotten that decision when we played Liverpool, and the guy was clearly offside.
Clearly.
But when they're drawing lines and and it's so close and that all depends on when they decide the guy kicked the ball, right? So if they had moved it back a fraction, then he probably would have been offside. So I don't know how they decide, when to stop the camera.
You see the angle that we see, right? And that's what they're looking at. And it's always an angle. It's never, an absolute straight line. And and the co-host of our American Hammers Radio podcast in our most recent episode was saying that what we need to do, or what they need to do, whoever's in charge of VAR, really needs to hook up with their local insurance companies and get the same camera reconstruction that they use for car crashes that can literally, alter lines just by using geometry, which doesn't look like they're doing with the current system of VAR. So, and not only that, I still don't even know, and I haven't really researched this too much, but who's in charge of the VAR? Like, who are these people behind the curtain that actually make these decisions that we don't see every single week? And can they be held accountable too? Because they're humans as well, right?
I was going to upload a video on this, and basically, so in the game, the referee, so when it comes to VAR, all goals are checked, but if it comes to like a big decision, the ref can choose to call on it. Like, so when Palace had their penalty against us, the ref never went to VAR. He can only use it if he's chosen, if he asks to. So when people are like, why didn't you use VAR? What's the point of having VAR if you're not going to use it? It's because the ref has to choose to. They can either choose to use VAR by doing that and having a look at the screen themselves, or they can get someone to review it in their ear and tell them on the phone, like, right, that was off. For me, I think just to make it a little bit fairer is to put it on the main screen at the game, and then we can all see what he's looking at as well. That's what I would like, rather than having to go behind into the tunnel to have a look at it. I think it'd be better if he was to put it on the screen and we could actually see it. But
no, that's true. Well, let's get into the next question, and that is where. No, I'm not getting into that one. That changes by the week, man. It changes by the week. Where will we finish? All right. So, what? All right, that's too old. All right, never mind. Let's get out of this. Stop screen share. There we go. Hey guys, what's going on? So yeah, we got a lot of chatting going on, and we have Kent Hammers. I love Kent Hammers. They're always in the chat room as well, and I see them across all the different chat rooms for all these different videos and comments as well. Says he hates VAR, taking too long sanitizing the game, and no, it's yes and no. Yeah, you're right. It is. It's taking too long, but I don't know. Some of these are right. Now, the angle that I originally saw with the game-winning goal, right? Yesterday, the angle that I saw on this. I was watching the stream, but because I was not even at home, it looked like someone's heel was over. One of our defenders' heel was over the line, not someone's knee or elbow. And as soon as they showed that, you could see the heel sticking over the yellow line. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. But again, it's like you look at the release point, and I'm like, is that really the release point though? That looked kind of like the ball hasn't even left the foot yet. You know what I mean? So. The starting point, it's not just, who's on side, like watching the line, but also, are they getting the release point right?
That's my point. How do they decide on that release?
If they're going to be overly critical of this stuff, right. If they're going to be overly critical about this and getting pinpointing everything, well, then do it and do it right. right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying as well. That's what VAR has done, like while we're having this conversation, because it just highlighted the errors in football itself. Like VAR is there to make it fair, but I think as well, I didn't think they thought about this, but I think it's highlighted what is wrong and what frustrates fans. And I can the thing is, I'm all for VAR, but then maybe it's not VAR needs to change. Maybe it's the system, how they do rules in the football as well, like how everything works, because it's just ridiculous. Like human error, you would not see. Like, unless you are like some sort of super magician, you would not see if someone's toenail was offside or a heel. You just wouldn't.
Correct.
It's just humanly impossible.
No, I mean, I thought first look was, Crystal Palace was clearly offsides. I mean, it looked clear as day to me. But then when they showed it back, I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, there's one of our guys is floating in the wind.
Yeah,
or something stupid. But get into our, my favorite part of the day, which is these supposedly rapid, quick fire questions, which don't usually go that way. Because we like to ask that, if you choose to elaborate on these answers, go for it. You know what I mean? Because we got about 10 minutes. So let's start it off. It's meat pie or apple pie?
apple pie.
Oh,
Apple pie. Wow. See, Wayne is right. So the guy who came up with these questions for us, Pat from the Dallas Hammers, and West Ham is Why We Drink podcast. He was getting a lot of ridicule from us American Hammers, not every one of us, but some of our little group over here was saying there's not going to be one British. We're going to do different questions for different, depending on where they're living, because there's not one Brit that's going to say apple pie. They're all going to say meat pie, and vice versa. And sure enough, he's like, no. And sure enough, you're I think second or third British person that said apple pie. So there you go. Thank you. Who's your favorite current West Ham player?
Mark Noble. Hands down. And I was on, I'm not going to say it, I was on this podcast where I got slaughtered for saying Mark Noble was my favourite player. And the best part was he played up against the side that the guy slaughtered. So the guy who gave me abuse for saying Mark Noble, the team he sports, Noble had the best game ever. And I just thought, oh, that's revenge. And so for me, hands down, it's got to be Noble. So it's not just about his quality, but it's about who he is as a person, just the way he is about West Ham. He was born in the same hospital as me. He was obviously the ranks and everything at West Ham, and I honestly believe, and I hope I'm not going to be wrong saying this, but I feel like when he retires, if he doesn't get a job at West Ham, he'll probably be in the stand supporting the club every week. I'm convinced.
Yeah, no, you're right, and he needs a damn trophy, because if he gets a trophy before he leaves, they'll give him a stand, they'll give him a statue. But if he doesn't win a trophy, that ain't happening. He'll be an ambassador, like you said, but that's about it, Yeah,
exactly. And it would be nice if he did, but like realistically, my only again, not winning something. I mean, if you really want to cut playoff final, but the only disappointment with me, I think, with Nobes is he was always overshadowed by Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard, obviously when they were in their prime. And I feel like if they weren't about, I do feel like Nobes would have had at least a call up into the England side, but he's always had so much more competition. I think that last season at Upton Park, he definitely deserved a chance. The statistics proved of all midfielders, I think it was only Dele Alli that season was the only midfielder who was better than him in terms of like stats, in terms of passing, creativity, and everything. And I think that season, when it came to the Pirate season, I think it was just so unfair that he didn't get the opportunity, not even just for a friendly to have go in England side, just say he's played. But I like the England system a lot more now, because we do give a lot, like Gareth Southgate gives a lot more like freedom and kind of like opportunity to young players who are coming through. And I like the fact that he's left out Lingard, because I don't get the hype about Jesse Lingard at Man United. Like I don't know how he's still. I wouldn't even have him West Ham.
There's a quota, and there's a quota. There has to be X amount of Man U players on the squad, and he's just the next best one, I guess, that makes the squad. Yeah. Southgate, did you hear that he's been linked with Spurs?
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It popped up on my phone before we started, Well, it could be a good thing, because I really don't think he'd be a great Premier League manager. I think he's a fantastic English manager, but I don't. But anyway. Who frustrates you the most in the current West Ham squad?
Oh, that's a hard. I think for me, is probably Masuaku, and just in recent times, I feel like on his day, Masuaku can be him. I personally don't think Masuaku's a left back. I put him as a winger personally, but I feel like, and Cresswell used to really like take out these last few games. I think Cresswell has been so frustrating to watch as well. just in terms of what he can do. But the first season we had Aaron Cresswell, I wouldn't have had different left back in the league, I don't think. But then just after that, I just think he's just plummeted. Since he had the England core playing against France, I don't think he was ever sort of the same player. Just recently, he's kind of picked up his form. But if I had to pick up Waku, just purely.
Nobody saw that coming, though. Nobody. Everybody was like, "Oh God, no! We got Cresswell. Oh God, no! He's starting. Oh no!" And then 2 matches in a row, he played phenomenal. Nobody saw that coming, man. Nobody.
No, it didn't. The best part is it was like him and Yarmolenko scoring the exact same order at Bournemouth that they did against Man United.
Yeah.
That was probably what was impressive. But
well, mine's Fredericks, and I'd also say Antonio, but I forgot about Antonio because he's not playing. So, because we don't. I love Yarmolenko, so I'm happy with that. But yeah. Anyway, Wally, who's the one that frustrates you the most in the squad?
I think it's Antonio. He is.
Yeah. Because he's got and not for a negative reason. Just saying that when he pulls these things out of his ass that like, oh wow, that's amazing, thank you, awesome goal, wow, look at that run, wow, and then 2 seconds later he's giving the ball away, he's doing something stupid, he's launching it into the zone, Rosie, pass Rosie, like wow, like look what you're doing, man. Anyway,
it was 2 years ago at Palace, I think, where. If he had just took the ball to the corner, and instead he tries to cross it in, and then
player.
All right, FA Cup or top 4 finish?
FA Cup, hands down. FA Cup, you're in history books forever. Top 4, you're not really. I mean, like we finished 5th, and no one even remembers that. Like I honestly think I'd rather win an FA Cup just to say as well that we've just won something as well.
That I would love to say that's the unanimous answer, but I think out of like the 100+ people we've asked this question to, only 2 people have said like top 4 finish, because that could mean winning the Premier League, like Leicester City did a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? Like that to them would be like, we won the league. You know what I mean? Because it's hidden in the question. You know what I mean? Like I would definitely love to win the league. Where I love it more than FA Cup. I don't know. That's tough. But finishing 4th, nah. I want the trophy, man.
Wait, you'd rather have the FA Cup than winning the league?
No, I'm saying that would make it difficult.
Yeah.
That would make it difficult. But finishing 4th or 3rd or 2nd, I want the cup.
Right.
I want the hard.
I've got a question for you guys. If it meant we got relegated, but we won the FA Cup, would you take it, or would you just have a normal season where we just finish mid-table? There's a question, bro.
Can we get streams from the championship?
If
we can, then I'll take the FA Cup.
Inside the league below.
If we can get streams here, I would take the FA Cup and be relegated. Of the championship.
Well, it depends. Because you know what? Yes, I would take it, because that would mean that we need a restart anyway. Kind of like what happened with the 10-11 season. We needed to get relegated at that stage. We needed the jump start. We needed to completely rebuild.
Didn't get even when we came to 17th. I couldn't believe that we didn't go down. We were so poor. And like I thought as well, how we scrapped out wins that season as well. I think the only away when we had that season was Wolves away, and I couldn't, even that first game, I couldn't believe we'd done it. And I was surprised we didn't go down earlier.
You mentioned Wolves there. You've been to Molyneux, right?
Yeah, quite a few times actually.
Yeah. So I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about that away day, though. I mean, you don't really hear that when you ask, "Hey, what's your favorite away day?" But a lot of people do say that they like that away day because the stadium.
I personally never heard about atmosphere there. I think the only thing that depresses me is I think I've only gone there once and seen us one. I think off the top of my head.
There you go.
But the only time I remember winning is obviously going there with Noble scoring a brilliant goal from outside the box. But it's the only thing that depressed me is just like when we went there in midweek, you can't really appreciate the stadium when you're absolutely knackered on a freezing cold night on Wednesday. But if we play on a normal weekend, it's amazing. I think it's a great way. It's a lovely stadium as well. It reminds me of Upton Park a little bit as well in a way. Same as Burnley, actually. It reminds me of that as well. But no, it's a lovely stadium as well. And they've got brilliant fans there as well. And there's another vlogger as well called Finners as well. He's a really nice guy as well. Who does as well.
What about West Ham do you love?
Sorry?
What about West Ham do you love?
I like the fact that we kind of have like a bit of a togetherness about us, like no matter what happens. And this is why it got so depressing when we lost 3-0 to Burnley and it all kicked off at heart, like on the pitch and everything. Because the unique thing about West Ham United is no matter what happens, it was even in the fanzine before it closed down when we got relegated. It doesn't matter if we get relegated, we're all going to unite together and we're still all going to be there. Even when we've been relegated, we were still selling out 3,000 away. We were still bringing full allocations along. And it's the unique thing about us. And I just feel like the sad thing is I feel like if we had, and that's why I thought that Burnley game was really important as well, because I think without it, the owners wouldn't have spent. I think because we made it so clear how angry and frustrated the fans were, I think it forced them to have to be like, right, you know what, like, we're going to have to put money in, we're going to have to put our hands in their pockets and spend, because the West Ham fans will not stand for it. But that's my favourite thing. That's why I'm West Ham. Like the same thing as I say about my friends, we go home and away. We just love it, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter. We can get thumped 9-0 to Man City, and we'd still be there next week singing our hearts out. It just doesn't make a difference to us.
Our most viewed video, and I mean, like by double, our most viewed video is with Paul Colburn, the guy who put the corner flag in. No joke. I think it had like.
Oh my god! Yeah. What's he like? I haven't seen. I'm gonna watch that.
Awesome, dude. He's just a really nice guy. I mean, he understands and he accepts it. You know, he said, "Listen, I know what I did was stupid, but it had to be done because it's something had to be said." He said, I'm not fighting to get my my season ticket back. I'm not fighting to get back in the pitch, but something needed to be done. I felt like I had to do it, so I did it." He's like, "It's that simple. I'm not going to cry and worry about not going back to the matches."
But he did make a statement to the board. I don't necessarily agree with him running onto the pitch and doing that, but it did. I hate to say, but it did work. Like they did spend. They brought in Anderson. They brought in Haller. They brought in all these new players. Like
definitely,
it gave them no choice. I think that was with Pellegrini as well, saying, "I will not sign for the club unless I'm promised funds."
Yeah. So what about the next question is what about West Ham do you hate? It's just the
what
opposite.
about West Ham do I hate?
Yeah.
Not winning enough games.
Losing. I guess, yeah. In one way, shape, or form, that's usually the answer. And same with your last question. So basically, what do you love about West Ham? One way, shape, or form, it's usually, the camaraderie, the I don't know, the family environment of the support around the world and getting together with everybody. So yeah. So what do you hate about it? I mean, usually it's either supporters or losing. Because the same thing you love about it, you hate about it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sound a little bit generic here because I think a lot of football fans would say this, but like, if we were to lose to a side like, I don't know, Palace, like for instance, and we lost to Everton and we only lost by a scrappy 1-0 and another day we could have taken it, you'll see a lot of West Ham fans saying "We love you, West Ham" chant, and you'll see a lot of West Ham fans applauding it. But if we just like Oxford away and we just give up and we don't look interested and you don't come over and applaud the fans after we travel all that way, and I'm still a little bit bitter about that. We travel all that way to then see them get thumped and we don't even get a little thank you for coming over. That's probably the only thing I probably dislike, and that's probably not a West Ham thing. That's just player attitude more than anything. But I think that's the only thing I probably would say I dislike, and I do feel like we do that a lot. Where like at Bournemouth, it was only a draw, but it felt like a win because of how hard we worked. And we could sit, and the fact a lot of players were on the floor, and Aston Villa away. After the game, the players were on the floor knackered. You could see like that's what we want to see. Like the fact you put in everything, you tried your best. That's all we care
about. What sound makes you happy?
West Ham fans celebrating a goal.
There you go.
Yeah.
A big cheer, big celebration.
That bubbles. I mean, yeah. I usually that's usually one of the first two answers here. What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, the see you next Tuesday. I'll never put it in the vlog.
That's number two. Usually the F word's at number one, but that's number two, and it's close. Just a lot of people when we throw that in there, a lot of people don't realize that. Oh my God, can I say it? I go, oh no, like not to say it. But no, that's a good one. Especially when a British person says it, because if you hear it from an American accent, it usually sounds more. Doesn't sound as nice, I guess. It doesn't sound as how do I put it? When someone from England says it with their accent, it's common tongue. It sounds okay. When you say the see next Tuesday one. Same thing with twat instead of twat. If you depending on how the American or the British way of saying it, it's like two different words, man. You know what I mean? So all right. So here we get back to this one. We already know what team you love to beat. It's Man U. That was my answer as well. What team out of all of them do you love to beat more than anyone? I'm assuming it's Man United. You said that earlier.
Yeah, so again, with Manchester United, I just feel like they're the thing I don't like in football in terms of I just feel like the only time Man United will make noise at their stadium, I know there's going to be tons. If you get any other football fans looking, I know I'm going to get slaughtered for this. I'm willing to accept it, but I just feel like every time I've gone Man United, now I went there. That was my actual second ever away there. Was Man United in that 06-07 season when we won 1-0. The second ever away day I went to. It was a lot easier back then to get away tickets. And when Tevez scored, it was amazing. That was an amazing day. But I feel like the only time I've ever heard a good atmosphere there is when they're winning. And when we lost 4-0 a few years ago, that's the only time I heard a good atmosphere is because they were winning. But when they're losing or they're drawing, it's not loud. You can hear some of the players. Like, where have you guys ever seen where the away fans sit at Man United?
No.
So they sit just in the corner of the stadium, and you can. Or they give us 3,000. They give us a big allocation. But you can hear the players shout on the pitch when they're near us. That for me is why I feel like they're just for me. And I'm sure there's loads of Man United fans that are properly hardcore, and fair play to them. I don't dispute them. Fair play. But it's when you get tons of tourists from other countries coming over and not making the noise. And but that for me is why they're the worst for me, and that's why And I know Spurs were a big rival. Spurs create a really good atmosphere, and same with Chelsea as well. They are big rivals, but they do create the atmosphere.
Name a player, past or present, that epitomizes West Ham to you.
In terms of what? Sorry.
Epitomizes the club. They are West Ham. I mean, they're what West Ham's about. Any one player to you that says, you know what, this is West Ham. This guy is West Ham.
Trevor Brooking. The nicest, probably, because where I sit at West Ham, he sits in the tier above. He comes to loads of the games, and he's probably one of the nicest people I think I've ever met. Like, just not properly spoke to him, but like in terms of he'll come out of his way and try to have a conversation with you, which I think says a lot in itself for a player who's won the World Cup as well. But yeah, that for me, that's got to be him.
That's come up a few times, actually, more often than I would have guessed, but that's awesome. Last question, and this is my favorite question before we wrap this up. If you could take a time machine back to experience anything to do with West Ham, when and where would it be?
I'm probably going to have to say Cup final. Even though we lost to Liverpool, I've never seen an FA Cup final in real life. That, with me, just a day out and experience, I would really appreciate that, just to see it. Just to kind of be a part and see what it's like to be part of such a big fight. Or maybe when we did win it against Arsenal in the 80s. Like, that would just be the perfect thing. Because, honestly, like, as West Ham fans, we have to admit, we're not Man City, we're not Chelsea, we're not Arsenal. We have to accept who we are. And if we were just to win an FA Cup or a League Cup, if you killed me, I'd die happy.
That is so. The Arsenal, the 1980 FA Cup is the number one answer usually. The '66 World Cup, because it is West Ham related.
Yeah,
that comes up quite a few times too.
Yeah, no, I think when it comes to the World Cup as well, I just love that we use that as our chant. Like, we've had Chelsea, we've had Leicester fans actually sing to us, "You'll never sing that, champions of England, you'll never sing that," and we reply with, "We won the effing World Cup," and that is just amazing. It's the brilliant comeback. It's because we didn't win the World Cup really, England did, but it was just us. We had all our West Ham players out there to win it for you, kind of thing.
Liam and Wally. Well, Wally, thanks for being my co-host tonight. Liam, listen, man, I told you an hour would fly by. It feels like we just started this. So, listen, you're welcome back anytime. We'd love to have you back on again. Now that we got the interview out of the way, and we've introduced you to everybody over here. Now we can throw you into some other shows if you're available down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
We'd love to have you back. I hope you enjoyed yourself, my man.
Yeah, no, it was really good, and thank you all so much, and thank you for the nice comments. Well, I've been looking at the live comments as far as it's gone along. Thank you, and Matthew Howard as well. He's one of my favourite people who comment on my videos, by the way. Just to give him a little shout out.
Nice.
He's one of ours as well. He's been really hitting it up lately.
He's been the first. I know exactly who he is. When I saw his picture, I was like, oh.
Cool, yeah, and I got a really quick thank you to Kent Hammers. Thank you to Forever Blowing Bubbles. I like seeing you in there quite a bit. Also, Penny Lawless popped in, and I see Ben Davis, who me and him always go head-to-head when it comes down to James Tompkins. And Neil showed up. So here's the thing, Neil. if we don't see you in the chat room, then we start to get worried, okay? Because you're there all the time. And when you're not there, we're like, oh, God, something happened to him? So make sure that you are more timely because you're giving us a heart attack.
Well, he checked in. It said
right.
it was 5 in the morning there. So I guess we can give
no
him
excuse.
a little slack.
No excuse. He doesn't sleep. No excuse. Oh, man. But yeah, thank you to everybody else who popped in the chat room. Thank you to Wally, and thank you to drinkwaredesign.com for these fantastic mugs with our logos on it. We do have a couple announcements for this week. We have some new shows again on the way. So we had some new shows pop up last week. We had the Friday Night Likes. We had Top 10 show, which will be back on Monday. We got a music show coming up called Tuesday Tunes, I think it's something like that. Anyway, it's a music show with musicians or some sort that are, that want to play their music live on our show or, interview them because they're hammers, etc. We got an interview tonight with somebody. I don't know who yet, but somebody's going to pop up. And then next Sunday, we got some more new content. And we got something coming up every single day of this week. So just stay tuned, subscribe, please subscribe. And then you'll get notified when all the new stuff comes up. Oh, the biggest thing, our new shop with different logos of our shows, logos of our radio. American Hammers Radio, American Hammers Network, American Hammers this, that, and everything else. Different designs on, shower curtains to, hoodies to mouse pads, all this good stuff. iPhone cases, whatever you want. It's there. It's going to be going live this week. So that. Oh, and lastly, the scarves are finally almost at my house. So when they came from Seattle. Once they get to my house, I already got the envelopes ready to go. I got some goodies for the first 10 or 12 people who actually bought our scarves. Are going to get something special also thrown into their bag, like some old programs, the tiny little ones, but they're awesome. And then some stickers and stuff like that. As soon as I get them, I can mail them out, and then you'll get them in a, depending on where you live from me, you'll get them. So they're almost here. Almost. All right.
Great.
One last thing. Come on, you irons.
Come on, you irons.